And you're watching Root TV Nigeria. In this special, we focus on FSARS and the Nigerian police in general. A lot of people woke up to the story that a young father had been killed by a stray bullet from FSARS during the weekend at a football match. That is in addition to a lot of reports that have been coming of brutality from the Nigerian police, especially when it comes to FSARS. Now, we are focusing on the reformation of FSARS, whether it's working, whether it's enough to change not just the image of the department, but the image of the police. And then focusing also on brutality, reports of brutality against the Nigerian police. How can this be fixed? On this conversation, I have with me Austin Aigbe, who's a public affairs analyst. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's go straight to what just happened. As a matter of fact, about a few days ago, Sars released a report that for the umpteenth time in a row, the Nigerian police is regarded as the most corrupt institution in Nigeria. Bear that in mind that quite recently, it was reported that an NSCDC officer was reportedly beaten to death by a police officer, and now we are waking up to the story that an FSARS stray bullet has killed a young father. Put all of that together, plus a lot of things that we've been hearing in the case of brutality against the police. Is the reformation working?
So you need to put it in perspective.
Okay.
The police is the general organization. SARS or FSARS, the federal SARS, is a subset, which is more like the oil-producing organ of the Nigerian police.
You say so?
Every police officer wants to serve in FSARS.
I see.
Because that's where I mean, what they call the beehive of the police. So when you're in that squad, you can make a lot of money. I mean, that's probably why people tend to rate them very high in terms of corruption level, like you mentioned with Sars. So what people pay us, police officers pay us has up to 200,000-300,000 to get on SARS, because the moment you're on SARS, there's a lot of money.
I'm sorry, explain that to me. How do they make money in SARS? So
you know the reform. The reform is for federal SARS, one of the accusations of federal SARS before now, not now, because I need what's happening to federal SARS now has no implication of the actual accusation that federal SARS claimed, the attack on federal SARS some few months ago, about a year or two ago, the extortion by SARS of innocent civilians, particularly young people who are flashy, young people with flashy cars, young people that, in quote, may not have good jobs, but are living flamboyant lives. What the SARS used to do is to stop you. It's like what you know, what they used to do, the NYPD does in the US then, stop and freak. So they stop you
and frisk you,
and then when you carry something that you cannot explain, in fact, they go into your phone
to find out the transactions,
all of the transactions you are having, and then they begin to negotiate with you. So now, and that's why you see we are told, even though there are several of those cases where young people have to take SARS to the bank to go withdraw some good amount of money with evidence that trended.
So that's the reason FSARS SARS is the oil mine, oil well, as you said.
Police. Yes,
interesting.
Right now.
But you know, the original reason for SARS was to fight armed robbery, special anti-robbery squad, to deal with, you know, robbery, anti-occultism, and all of that related. And that was created at the height of armed robbery in this country. And at that point, I remember a lot of Nigerians were so grateful for them. But now it seems that FSARS, or SARS as it were, has become, you know, I don't want to use the word a terror, but it really has been terrorizing a lot of Nigerians. Let's talk about the fact that the Nigerian police force has been trying to reform this unit. Is it working? I
think it's working based on the attack on SARS a few months ago. Right now, the whole idea of federal SARS, like you mentioned, anti-robbery squad, has been heightened, because that's not a beehive, not chasing after in quote Yahoo boys or those young 419s, whatever they call them. So now you are what you are. You are anti-robbery squad. However, I think what is important right now with the stray bullet issues we talked about, Johnson that was killed over the weekend, who was watching football in one of those viewing centers.
Yes.
It's clear that these guys lack training. It is not just SARS, it's the police.
Okay.
So when you see, why will street bullet, we talk about military arms and all of that. If they are not properly trained to use, to handle those AK-47, then don't give them. Give them pistol or give them the long barrel that they used to kill animals in the farm. So they don't have to accidentally discharge them.
You know, interestingly, this was not an accidental, based on the reports that
we have.
Shooting. They came to arrest someone. Yes. After the arrest, they started shooting sporadically in the air. We do not know why, but that is according to the report that we have so far emanating from that incident. So you are saying it shouldn't have even happened, which of course shouldn't even be happening. Why should you shoot into the air? I mean, in residential
even
area.
When you have to disperse crowd, for example, there are safety precautions. You are having arms and there are civilians coming towards you. The tendency for them to take up your arms is high. Then you need to defend yourself. So there's the components of the self-defense. So there are several of those trainings that go through all of that. That is why you have tear gas by the corner in case that there's a crowd coming towards you and you are holding arms and you don't have the rubber bullet to scare them up. You can actually scare them away by, see, when you shoot into the air, when the bullet goes out, the tendency and power to come down, it's not the same force. So apparently the one that went up didn't go up, it went to the crowd.
Exactly.
So when you talk about that, it may not be, the intention is not to shoot the individual. Probably while he was taking it up, he already went out. Yeah. So I think it's very important that certain trainings are in place. SYZ must be done before taking certain action.
So you're saying probably that, you know, there's a lot of aggression dispersed at this period, but the focus should be on the Nigerian police as a whole and not just Sars, because in the case of this stray bullet, it could have been from any police officer from any department.
On election day in Enugu, stray bullet went to a party faithful and he died there. It was not the federal Sars. We have had countless number of those on the street. In fact, there was one trending a few months ago. Custom officers along the Benin Ore Road with stray bullet killed a young a Nigerian who was coming in from outside the country for Christmas. So you cannot quantify that a street bullet will kill an innocent civilian who is not armed. And you are not under such an environment that look like they were going to take up your arms. So it's clear, it's not a thing whether it's federal Sars. It's that the Nigerian police need more of training.
When
individuals that must carry arms to protect the civilians must be properly trained in order to protect the civilians.
Let's even talk about police brutality, because that one doesn't seem to go away at all. Whether it's Sars or any other department of the Nigerian police, police brutality has become a regular thing. How do we address these issues? Now, I'm aware that police brutality is not just, you know, synonymous with the Nigerian police. It's international, it's worldwide. But looking at the Nigerian context, how can the Nigerian police begin to reform itself so that brutality is reduced to the barest minimum? So
there's brutality before arrest, there's brutality while in detention. I see. So we need to be sure of what kind of brutality you're talking about. For example, if a suspect is proven to be stubborn and doesn't want to resisting arrest, what they call it resisting arrest, you can take all measures in order to put that suspect underneath. It's like you said, it happened everywhere. I watched an NYPD squeezing a black man just to arrest them, about 10 of them, over one black man, just to put him under handcuffs. So in order to restrain that suspect, maybe you may call it brutality. Yes, it is. It is. But what other measure can be used? Will they use arms? No. So you may want to engage the suspect and then pin him or her down so you can properly handcuff them. When you have done that, you then let him be. But what we see in Nigeria is that even when the suspects are under control, you see them hitting them with the guns and all that you prove stubborn, that become illegal. Then there's a brutality or torture while in detention. So you want to take statement from suspect, and the suspect said, no, I did not do XYZ. And you say, no, you did it. You must confess that you did it. So all manner of torture instrument, including needles and all of that, applying them on the suspect just to confess. The case in the so-called what happened in Kwara, the robbery incident that implicated the offer robbery. We now know that the suspect went to court and said he was under pressure. He was under duress to confess.
To make that confession.
So that in fact, it was told who to allege in his statement. So those kind of torture aren't also very good.
You know, Amnesty International has spoken out over and over again and again, times without number, about the brutality of SARS. Now, they released a statement in a tweet. They said, once again, SARS is in the news for alleged brutalization of Nigerians. We have several times called for end SARS. SARS is a police unit created to protect the people. Instead, it has become a danger to society, torturing its victims with complete impunity while fomenting a toxic climate of fear and corruption, which a lot of people might just say, it's not just FSARS or SARS, however it is you want to put it. It could also refer to other arms of the Nigerian police. But then let's look at the Nigerian police in general. Brutality, extrajudicial killings. Now we have talked about handling arms. We have talked about how to handle individuals. What can the Nigerian police, would I say authorities do? Because I'll give you an example. On almost all occasions, almost not all occasions, you notice that the Nigerian police in situations like that do not take full responsibility of what happens. We see situations where it feels like they are shifting the blame either to the victim or to the circumstance, or saying it's plainly not true, which is almost like hiding from the situation. What can be done in this case so that these guys are held accountable, whoever it is that commits a crime of killing someone unjustly?
So let me sincerely give it to the current Acting Inspector General of Police. If you read his profile, you know this guy is well trained internationally, having some very good medals for great works he has done across the continent or across the world. But I think it is important now, at this point in time, for him to sit down and then look at those areas that need immediate attention. And SARS is not going to solve the issue, I maintain, because the same police people, the same police officials who are SARS members ultimately come back to the same police. So whether it's black uniform or it's Mopo uniform, whatever uniform they are on, or the one I mean, SARS does not have uniform. They have one jacket, and if you see them on the highway, they actually look like robbers, because anybody can print SARS on any black T-shirt with a stripe or yellow that the police logo on their hand, but it doesn't really show. They should be properly kitted, including, I've argued before, I've advocated before, when issues of brutality of black Negroes in America was on, particularly in New York, one of the strategies was to begin to camera those police officers. So SARS, one of the reform, in my opinion, should be to begin to camera these officials. So let's put camera on them, put camera on their vehicles. So whatever action they do, they are able to use the video from their own recording to lay claim to whatever has happened. If they caught those cameras or they caught those videos, we'll know. If it won't add up.
It's a way of policing the police.
Yes, we need to police the police.
Interesting. So in your own opinion, end SARS is not going to work because it's the same officers, same police officers, they're going to just... Are you
going to send them to mass, then you get another set of people?
That's an interesting way of looking at it. For the people calling for end SARS, it's a bigger problem than just end SARS. A big thank you to you, Austin Aiwe, for taking our time to talk to us. Please go to the comment section of this video and give us your thoughts on the conversation we have been having. You are watching Roots TV Nigeria. My name is Gloria Oje Emodi.